Hi, everybody. I'd like to talk a little bit tonight about what Jesus told us in John chapter 10. Uh, he said that the thief comes but to steal, kill, and destroy. But I have come that you may have life, and you may have that life more abundantly. Now, I think we understand what it means when he said that he brought us life, okay? I mean, he became our sins so that we could become his righteousness. Clyde said it so eloquently when he said he drank our cup so that we could be seated at his table. There's a whole lot in the Bible that's written about it. Actually, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 is practically all about that, that how he became our sin so that we become his righteousness. Like I said, the whole chapter is practically about it. Verse 22, I was going to read to you. 1 Corinthians 15:22. It says, "For as in Adam all die, so in Messiah all will be made alive." So, here again, he's just saying sin entered the world through one man, Adam, and through one man, Christ, we were redeemed back. Sin did not leave the world, but sin no longer holds us captive. And that's what he means when he said that he gave us life. It goes on in that same chapter where he talks about, oh death, where is thy sting? Oh grave, where is your victory? The way I see it is that we are a spirit and we live in this body. Now, as a spirit, it says that we are seated in heavenly places through Christ Jesus. So the thing is, though, is our spirit is in heavenly places, but our body is here in this earthly realm, and our spirit is entombed in this body for now. We are restricted by what this body can do. We are restricted by what the mind that controls this body, and it also controls our soul, our spirit. When we let it, we are restricted by that. I believe there will come a day when this body will just stop functioning, and we will just actually just go. We're still already seated in heavenly places. We will be there, except for without the confines of this body. So I think everyone kind of understands what it means that he came to give us life. But this abundant life, this is something that I've struggled with. I look around, you watch the news, and every day there is so much pain and so much suffering and so much hurt. And you look back through your own life, and again, so much pain and suffering, so much hurt, so many things that have been said to you that have hurt you. Where is the abundant life that he's talking about? It seems like as soon as you actually get saved and get born again, it's like you're thrown into a battlefield, because you now you're warring against the flesh that you are entombed in. It makes it to where this abundant life, I know it's there, but what is he really talking about here? So, and I don't have the answers. Okay, I really don't have the answers. I'm just going to say a little bit about what he has showed me here. I don't have the answers for this, okay, all. I do know this, is that I call it, whenever sometimes I'm put in a woodshed, that's where my mind has basically taken me out of the presence of God. And when I'm out of his presence, I'm going to tell you what, this world is a very scary place. I didn't realize how scary it was before I resided in his presence, but now whenever I leave his presence, I am terrified. There is so much that can go wrong. There is literally nowhere that you can hide from the turmoil of this world except for in him. And we not only hide in him, but he covers us in him. I read something just a few minutes ago. It was so amazing. We all thought that Noah built this awesome boat, okay, that all the animals were in it, and he was safe in there because the gopher wood was strong, because they had put pitch on it or whatever. But if you read it, it says, after they all went in there, God shut the door. In some of the Hebrew language, when it says it, it says God sealed them into the ark. They were safe. during this flood that destroyed the whole world, they were safe in there because God sealed them in. I mean, it is not your good driving skills that keeps you safe running up and down the highway. It says God has sealed you into your vehicle, and there's angels watching over you. You don't have good health. I mean, maybe you do have some things wrong with you, even though you're basically healthy, but there could be all kinds of things wrong with you, but God has sealed us in him, and he protects us. So, I mean, that's part of the abundant life, and I get that part of it, but then there's another part of the abundant life, and that's called favor. All through the scripture, there's all kinds of verses that are talking about favor. One of my favorite verses about favor is in Psalms 5:13. It says that he will bless us and surround us with favor that acts like a shield that goes before us. I mean, when you think back upon your life, how many things happened or didn't happen that were supposed to happen, that seemed logical that they should have happened, or seemed logical that they wouldn't have happened? How many things have you seen God's favor just going before you like a shield, just like he talks about? Well, this is part of the abundant life. I mean, the other day I got stuck at work late. I live in Cincinnati. It's a half-hour drive from my house to work. I was supposed to meet a guy in a half hour. He called me before I even left work, okay? And I said, I'll be there in a half hour. I didn't want to tell him, there was going to be 45 minutes to an hour because of traffic. I said, I'll be there in a half hour. And I said, Lord, just make this thing work. It was a Friday at 5 o'clock. I walked in my door in 32 minutes. I mean, it's just like traffic just cleared out in front of me, okay? And again, you could say, well, that was a coincidence. No, that was God's favor. Actually, in the Hebrew language, which is what most of the Bible was written in, there is no word for coincidence. They believe that everything is by divine appointment. I believe that too. I do not like to use the word coincidence. So anyway, these are some examples of God's favor. And you can think of many in your life, but the true abundant life comes from the river of life that he spoke of. I believe it's in the book of John, okay, but they were at the feast, and I believe that they were celebrating the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles, where they celebrated the fact that their ancestors had wandered through the wilderness, a dry and thirsty desert, for 40 years until God gave them the promised land, and God wanted them to remember through this feast, hey, your ancestors were out here in the desert. So Jesus is in the temple for the day of the feast, and it says, on the last day of the great feast, he cried out with a loud voice. In other words, he wasn't talking about this, he wasn't preaching a sermon, he wasn't teaching. Things were just kind of going on normally, the way I see it, and all of a sudden he shouted, anybody who's thirsty, come, drink deeply of me, and I will make a river of living water flow through you. I mean, again, there is no word for coincidence. That didn't happen by chance. They were celebrating the fact that they'd been in a desert, and he's saying, you'll never have to be in a desert again. I've got a river of abundant life that I want to make course through you. So I think the real abundant life comes to us through this river of life that he's described. And he didn't say that we would be a vessel of this river of life. In other words, a holding tank, because a holding tank, the water, if it's not moving, it can become bitter. But we are a river. This river starts at the throne of God. It flows through us, and it touches, whoever it touches, it brings abundant life to them. And it's constantly flowing through us. This is what I believe brings us the abundant life. And in this river of life, which this is where I don't have the answers. There is way, way more to it than I've ever experienced, okay? But I believe that we are coming into a time, and if we do what he says, if we drink deeply of him, I believe that he is going to release this river. I believe the river flows through many of us already, but I believe that he wants to, it's kind of a stream, it's a trickle through most of us. I believe that He wants to take us to the point where it is a gushing river. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, okay? But first, I'm going to take a little detour, and I want to talk to you about something, because see, the river of life cannot flow through a dirty vessel. So whenever you get saved and then you get born again, God does a cleaning, a cleansing in you. And this cleansing is what allows this river to flow through you, because if you're not clean, then your mind and the strongholds of your mind, there's a lot of things that can dam up this river, that can stop it from flowing freely. So he does this awesome cleansing in us, and I'm going to talk about that for just a little bit. I want to go to 1 Samuel 15. Let me find it here. This is whenever Saul has been anointed king. Saul is of the tribe of Benjamin. His father was, I believe his name was Tish, okay? And Samuel goes to Saul, and I'm just going to read it to you. Then Samuel said to Saul, Adonai, or God, sent me to anoint you as king over his people, over Israel. Now, therefore, listen to the voice of the words of God, or Adonai. Thus says Adonai, the Lord of hosts, remember what Amalek did to Israel, how he set himself against him on the way while Israel was coming up from Egypt. Now, go and strike down Amalek, and put all he has under the ban of destruction. Have no pity on him, but kill both men and women, children, and nursing infants, oxen, sheep, camels, and donkeys. So when you read this, or when I read it, I'm like, really? Nursing babies, God? I mean, you're telling him to kill nursing babies? I mean, actually, this is what I said. I said, I love you, Lord. I love you and I praise you, but this right here is what makes the world. It gives you a bad name. Why would you kill nursing babies? And whenever I asked him, he explained it to me. So I'm going to try to explain it to you as clearly as I can. So God told him to destroy everything that had to do with the Amalekites, or Amalek, the nation. Okay? So Saul went down. He had battle. He struck them down. He killed all of the Amalekites, just like he was told to, except for one. He let one person escape, and that was the king of Amalek, and that king's name was Agog, A-G-O-G. So he killed everybody else, but he did not kill the king, and he didn't kill the animals, because the animals, they were like money. I mean, he gave the spoils to his soldiers, and Samuel came and really just tore into him and said, you disobeyed God. God told you to do this, and you did not do it. So this guy, Agag, this King Agag, he did escape, okay? So we are going to fast forward 600 years, okay? And we're going to go to the book of Esther, if I can find it, okay? Now, I'm sure you know the story of Esther. Actually, the Feast of Purim is one of the feast days, holy days of Israel, and they celebrate the story of Esther. That I'm going to just sort of give you kind of a refreshing on it. But basically, what has happened here is that Assyria has taken Israel captive, okay, and then they've just made slaves out of the people wherever they got them as captives, okay? And the king of Assyria, his wife did something and fell out of favor with him, so he removed her from being queen. And the king said, I want to find the most beautiful virgin, and I'm going to make her my new queen. So there was a man named Mordecai. He was sort of associated with the king, not really one of the top-notch guys, just associated with the king. And he said, you might want to consider my niece Esther. She is a beautiful woman. Now, Mordecai was an Israelite. Esther was an Israelite. But they did not tell the king this, okay? Because, again, the Israelites were kind of considered lower than, they were captives. They were not considered to be equals. So the king saw Esther, and he thought she was very beautiful, and he made her his queen. Now, there was a man named Haman who had been kind of the number one advisor for the king, but whenever Mordecai and Esther came on the scene, then Haman sort of got reduced in rank, so to speak, and Mordecai got lifted in rank. This made Haman very upset. He didn't like Mordecai, okay? But he was still an advisor to the king. So basically, he went to the king and he said, you know, these Israelites, you've captured them. All they're doing is just sucking up air. They're taking up space. They're really doing us no good. We ought to kill them all. We ought to just set one day and kill all the Israelites because they are absolutely worthless. And the king said, nah, you're probably right. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so they set up a day in the future, very close future, and they were going to destroy the nation of Israel. Okay, and they could have did it. I mean, they were captive. They had no weapons. They couldn't fight. They were just going to slaughter them. So what happens is that Mordecai, there was a plot to kill the king. Mordecai found out about it. He told Esther. Esther told the king, hey, there's going to be a plot to kill you. And whenever the king found out about it, okay, then he made Mordecai like the number one guy, his number one advisor in the kingdom. And then he told Esther, I'll give you anything you want, up to half of my kingdom. I'll give you anything you want, okay? So basically she went and said, I don't want you to kill the Israelites. I am an Israelite. I want them to be saved. And she said that this Haman guy that is your advisor is a very wicked, evil man. He's the one that should die. So what happened was Haman had built gallows to hang Mordecai on, and Haman was hung in his own gallows. Okay, so that's the story of Esther, kind of in a nutshell. Okay, but this is what I want to talk to you about. Okay, this is very just awesome. And again, if it's in the Bible, it's not there by accident. But look at what God did here. Okay, this is Esther 2, verse 5. Give me a second here. I'm trying to find it. Okay. There was a Jewish man in the Shushan palace whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shemel, son of Kish, a Benjamite. So what we have here is this Mordecai was a direct blood descendant of King Saul. He was a descendant of Kish, who was out of the tribe of Benjamin. So 600 years before, King Saul went to battle with these Amalekites, okay, and the king Agag had escaped. Okay, now, Esther 3:1 says, so sometime later, the king promoted Haman, son of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Okay, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, the Agagite. Well, Agagite means you are from Agag, and Agag is the king that Saul didn't kill, the Amalekite king. So 600 years later, we have the direct bloodlines of Saul and King Agag, and we again have this guy Haman arranging to destroy, to kill the entire nation of Israel. So the reason God told Saul to kill even the nursing babies, it's not that the Amalekites were God's enemy. The spirit that drove the Amalekites, that was God's enemy. That spirit entered into them when Israel was still in the wilderness, I mean, hundreds of years before Saul was ever king, and tried to destroy the entire nation of Israel, okay? And Moses did battle with them. That was the battle in the Old Testament where Moses had to hold his arms up. And if his arms would fall, they would lose the battle. If arms would go up, they would win the battle again. But that was that battle against the Amalekites. And this spirit made them made a nation want to destroy an entire nation. And the Israelites were just wandering around in the desert, eating the manna, drinking water out of a rock. I mean, they were no threat to nobody. That thing was spirit driven. So God, through King Saul, was trying to stop Haman 600 years later from again trying to destroy the nation of Israel, because this spirit, if one person was left alive this spirit could come down through their genes. They call them generational curses or generational spirits. And that's exactly what happened. We now have Saul's seed and Agag's seed at a point again where the nation of Israel is being destroyed, and they are the forefronts in it. I mean, what God does through his word, it's so amazing. But what I'm saying is, God was doing a cleansing when he told Saul to wipe out the nation of Amalek. And whenever we are born again and we are saved and born again, God does a cleansing in us. Okay? And he's, you see, everything, okay, what God said in his word is that as long as there is time, there will be seed time and harvest. So, and I'm sorry if it seems like I'm rambling a little bit. This is so deep for me, and it's so hard for me to try to get this out as he had showed it to me. But basically, everything that any man that has ever lived, has ever done, has started with a thought, whether it be good or bad. I mean, we have cars and telephones and airplanes because someone thought, hey, we can sit down and drive. We can fly. We can talk through wires. And those thoughts became seed. They were planted, and they became a crop, along with other people's adding to it and so forth. And we have all the inventions we have. Well, sin and evil things are also started with thoughts. Those thoughts become seed. And when those seeds are planted, those seeds may not create a crop in your lifetime. They may create a crop in your grandchildren's lifetime. So whenever we did become saved and we did become born again, God did a cleansing in us. That's what he did with wiping out this nation of Amalek. And I just use that as an example to show you how extreme God is about this cleansing. And you have no idea what he took out of you whenever you became born again. But in order to have this river of life, okay, we have to be a clean vessel. And we are not able to clean ourselves. That is what Christ did. I mean, that's what God does. He does the cleansing for us. However, there is a little bit of maintenance that we need to do. Now, I'm not saying that we have to like roll up our sleeves and work to stay clean and all that, because it's not that, okay? I mean, actually, God's told us our job description is to rest. He said, rest in the fact that I have redeemed you from death unto life. Rest in the fact that I've got this. I've got all of this under control. You don't have to help me. I've got this. Okay, so our job description is to rest, but there is a little bit of maintenance that we still need to do. Okay, so I want to go to 2 Corinthians right now, verse 10. Give me a second. And this maintenance is not a huge, like I said, I'm struggling for the words, because whenever God tells you something, sometimes it's so hard to get it out. But it's not something that we have to just put our nose to the grindstone and just work at this thing. It's not that, because he did the work for us. But this is what he's told us to do. It's in 2 Corinthians, verse 10. Still getting there, sorry. Okay. Verses 3 through 6. Okay, says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not wage war according to the flesh or in the flesh. Okay. For the weapons of our warfare are not fleshly, but they are powerful through God for the tearing down of strongholds. We are tearing down false arguments and every high-minded thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. We are to take every thought captive to the obedience of Messiah, ready to punish all disobedience whenever your obedience is complete. So what he's saying is, there is seed time and harvest. Everything that has ever happened in your life started with a thought. And if you have thoughts that are not pure, righteous, lovely, kind, all of the fruits of the Spirit. If you have thoughts that are not these, then your maintenance is to take those thoughts captive. Because if you don't take them captive, then they are seed, well, they become planted. So you either have to take them captive and dispel them, or they become seed and they become crops. And they will stop, or they will slow down the flow of this river of life that brings abundant life to us. And I read this about 30 years ago, and I thought, that don't sound too tough. I think I'll start doing that tomorrow. And I realized a year or so ago that I hadn't started doing it yet, and 30 years was gone. But and it's not that hard to do. I mean, what God wants us to do is He wants us to stay in a state of mind to where immediately if a thought comes that shouldn't be there. I mean, He wants us to be in a state of worship and praise and joy and peace. And I mean, Clyde has spoken about he's constantly been talking to us about all these things. This is the place where He wants us to stay. And you'll be there. Everything will be great. And all of a sudden, there'll be this random thought comes in, and you'll be like, what was that? That doesn't even feel right. Why was that thought even in my mind just then? That is the thought that you need to take captive. Now, that's all you got to do is take it captive, because that river of life that's flowing through you, I mean, it's a river, it's flowing. If you go down here to any river and you throw a stick out in that river, you're just gonna watch it get washed right away. It's going down the stream. So once you take the thought captive, that's the end of your responsibility. Okay, it's taken away from you from there. But if you don't take it captive, it becomes a seed, and it can become a crop. And then it also says here that our warfare is for the pulling down of strongholds. A lot of people say, oh, the devil did this and the devil did that, and I'm fighting with the devil. But the thing about it is that a lot of the stuff that we war against, Paul explains right here, is the pulling down of strongholds. In other words, thoughts that we have had since maybe even since children are innocent, and maybe like puberty or adolescence or beyond, we have had series and series and series of thoughts. We have not taken them captive, and these are the thoughts that become strongholds. And these strongholds, they call them strongholds because they are holding on to you pretty strong. I mean, it's not just like, oh, I got to take this thought captive and it's gone. These strongholds can be bad. I believe that homosexuality and a lot of this transvestite and these sex change and that, I don't believe that they are just being attacked by demons. I believe that these are strongholds that have been set up in their minds that makes them think along the lines of the homosexuality and all of the things that they are into. And these are hard to fight. I mean, you can't just walk up and cast a demon out of them, because it's not a demon. It's a stronghold in their mind. But, I mean, Paul specifically mentions this here. He says, our weapons are powerful through God for the tearing down of strongholds. And then he goes on to say, and you do that by not letting the stronghold form, by taking every thought captive. So here's the thing in a nutshell, I guess. Here's where I've been trying to go with this thing, okay, is that I've talked about it before. Clyde has talked about it. But the earth is crying out, it said, for the sons of God to manifest themselves. The entire earth. And the thing about it is that there's a group of people that God has been working with all of their lives that are walking this planet right now. And these are the sons of God that are going to manifest. But whenever they manifest, it's not going to be like, oh, it was a good revival, a couple nice things happened, a few people got saved. This is going to be earth-shattering. Actually, if I can find this in Isaiah, I think it's in Isaiah 53. But I saw this the other day, and it absolutely it shook me to my very core. Excuse me while I find it. Okay. So the earth has been crying out for the sons of God to manifest, and whenever they manifest, they are not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be just another move of God. It's not going to be another revival. These sons of God are going to be just like Jesus Christ when he walked the earth. And I mean, there's many scriptures, we've talked about it before. If you want to go back and watch some of the other videos, we've talked about this, of when the sons of God manifest. And that they will be just as Jesus was when he walked the earth. He said, greater things than these will you do because I go to the Father. And he said, Father, make them one as we are one. And I think that, you know, there have been a couple of people through the ages that have, you know, God has manifested through them, okay? But I think that he's talking about a movement. And the reason he says that the earth is crying out, because listen to this. This was really wild. This is Isaiah 55, chapter 10. It says, for as the rain and snow come down from heaven and do not return there without having watered the earth and making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to sow and bread to eat, so my word will be that goes out of my mouth. It will not return to me vain, but it will accomplish what I intend and will succeed into what I have sent it for. So in other words, the rain and the snow falls from heaven. It doesn't fly back up to it. It falls. It goes where it's supposed to go. It waters the earth that it's supposed to water, and it does not return to him void. And he said, so my word will not return to me void. But listen to what the next verse says, okay? It says, yes, you will go out with joy and be led forth with peace. Who is you? I believe that the you he's talking about here are the sons of God that are manifesting him. And whenever we manifest him, we're going to be just like Jesus was. I mean, he said, I don't do anything unless I see the Father do it. I don't say anything unless I hear the Father do it. And that's why you have to take these thoughts captive. That's why your mind has to be completely out of the picture, and you must be operating out of your spirit and your spirit only. But he says, you will go out with joy and be led forth with peace. I think he's talking about the sons. And by the way, I believe that I am one of these, but I believe if you're hearing this, that you are one of these sons too. Because God makes sure that we all hear exactly what we need to hear when we need to hear it. And if you're hearing this, I believe that you are one of these sons. So listen to what we are going to accomplish. We will go out with joy, be led forth with peace. Then he starts talking about the earth. He said, the mountains and the hills will break forth before you singing, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. In the Garden of Eden, God said one of the curses on the earth is that there would be thorns would grow up and thistles would grow up, and we'd have to work and eat by the sweat of our brow. So listen to the next verse. Instead of the thorn bush, a cypress will come up. Instead of the briar, a myrtle will come up. And it will be memorial to Adonai as an everlasting sign that will never be cut off. The reason the earth is crying out for the sons of God to manifest is because we, people, have been redeemed back to God. The curse that was put upon us in the Garden of Eden was lifted off of us in the Garden of Gethsemane. But the earth is still cursed. The earth is crying out for the sons of God to manifest. So, because whenever we do, we are going to bring such change into this atmosphere, into this earth, that the curse of the earth is going to be lifted off too. At that point, I have no idea. I have no idea what it's going to be like, but I believe that we are coming upon this time. You know, I heard a teacher talking the other day, and he gave this example, and it was so amazing. I'm going to try to relate as I heard it, but he said, time is like a giant triangle or pyramid, okay? A giant pyramid, but upside down. In other words, the big wide part is up, and then the pyramid or it goes down to a point, okay? And he said, whether you're measuring a day, an hour, a task, a life, or all of the time that we've been on earth, it's all the same thing. Because in the beginning, at the wide part, the mouth or of this pyramid, see, that Manway people had it right. This is a pyramid scheme. Just teasing. But anyway, at the top of this pyramid, there's plenty of time. It's big. It's wide open. There's you can get lost and distracted for a minute, a day, a week, a decade or two. It don't really matter. It's not that big a deal because there's a lot of time. But then as it's filtering down toward the throat or toward the point of this pyramid, then there's not much time left. Because it's going to come to an end at some point, whenever this thing all hits the point. That's whenever things begin moving very, very fast and things are happening immediately. And every thought needs to count. Every word needs to count. Every action needs to count. I believe that we're working our way down very quickly now. I mean, the Jewish calendar is only set up for 6,000 years. And I think we're in the year 5783 or 82 right now. And there's been a lot of prophecy in the Bible that has come to, it's already been fulfilled. Like, in the end times, Israel would be a nation. It says in Isaiah, can a land become a nation in one day? And he was talking about Israel. Well, yeah, it did. It happened in, I think it was 1948. Yes, Israel became a nation in one day. And it says that at the end of time, Israel will be a nation again. And there will be a reunion of the Jews and the Christians. And I mean, there's been so many prophecy that's come to pass. There's not a lot of prophecy that hasn't come to pass, actually, when you're going through the Word. I believe we're coming down to this point in time. And if that is true, okay, if that is true, then the sons of God are going to be manifesting soon. And He is doing a deep work. I mean, you cannot walk the face of this earth doing greater things than what Jesus did, saying only what you hear the Father say and doing only what you see Him do. You can't do that unless He's done a deep work in you, unless He's done a deep cleansing in you, like I described earlier. You're not going to be able to function unless that river of abundant life is flowing through you like a mighty torrent. I mean, Ezekiel saw the river. He said it started at ankle deep, and then it became knee deep and waist deep, and then it washed everything away. That is what we are. That is what He is taking us to. I believe we are that river, and I believe in our lifetime these things are about to come to pass, and I believe that we are going to start seeing things happen very quickly. Development, knowledge, teaching in our lives. I believe that I've always said, man, I would love to live in biblical times. Well, folks, we're here. We're in biblical times. And I think that we are kind of the cleanup crew. I think that we were appointed to live at this time, and we are going to see some mighty, wonderful things come to pass in our lifetimes. So anyway, how do you prepare for this? You can't. This is a work of God in your life. Okay, but there's some little things you can do. And like I said, taking every thought captive is one of the things. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm not successful at it. I'm not taking every thought captive. I'm lucky to get 10% of them in there, but you know what? That's 10% less negative seed than I'm going to have coming up in my life. That's 10% more the abundant river of life that can flow through me. And if this has touched your heart, then I would like to pray over you right now. Father, I thank you for all those that have heard these words. And I speak now, Lord, that you will open their eyes, you will open their ears, you will open their hearts, and you will do a deep cleansing in all of us. Anything that has not been cleansed and washed away, Father, I speak now in Christ's name that you will wash us clean, and you will allow this river to begin coursing through us and begin cleaning everything out that is left, Lord. Teach us how to control our minds. Teach us how to pull down the strongholds in our lives and in those lives around us, Lord. I love you and I praise you, Lord, and I thank you for each and every one that hears these words. And I speak now that you do a mighty work in all of our lives so that we can do what we were sent here to do for you. I thank you and I praise you. So anyway, if you're not getting the daily words that, well, it's not daily, but they come, a couple of times a week or so that God gives to Clyde, please go on to the website and figure out how to get them, because I'm telling you, this is lifeblood, man. The words that God gives to Clyde are so important, okay? And they will make you grow. I can't even describe to you how important they are and how they'll make you grow. But anyway, we love every one of you. We pray for you, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.